Welcome to the family, Colohue. Same amount of syllables, so of course we're going to jump on it. Today, in spoiler warning, our headlines are built around Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch being the top performers going into WrestleMania as they were originally promised for WWE Raw, but there's also some news that just broke in the last hour or so about Omos and his impending opponent for WrestleMania. Both Battle Royals, we did speculate over the last weekend that the Women's Battle Royal had been cancelled. We kind of saw that one coming, but also the Men's Battle Royal has been officially cancelled, and Omos, who would have been winning that, has been moved into a program with a newly available Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley apparently is confirmed as going to be returning from his injury very shortly, and we can expect to see him back in action in time for a feud and probably a loss to Omos at WrestleMania. The WWE, if you're a regular here on the Tom Colohue channels, you will already know, have been trying to get this match going for a while, primarily built upon the fan support that they received, or at least the two wrestlers in question received, when they briefly faced off way back when, and I mean way back when, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, when they briefly stared down and the fans went a little bit crazy. So it's all built on that. Those are, of course, some of our early news going into it, but there is plenty more information coming. So, firstly, I'd like to say hello to everyone who's jumped in so far. Moxie says, acknowledge me. You are there. Well done. Michael says, hi, Tom. Hello, Michael. How the devil are you? And plenty more as well. Ed is here saying, hey, Mr. Colohue, you ready for a week of no sleep coming soon? I've got to say no, but I kind of supposed to say yes, because, you know, it's WrestleMania. I should be hype, and in many ways, I am hype. But in many other ways, I'm not hype. But this seems like a perfect opportunity to start talking about what the plans are for WrestleMania weekend. And that is basically, it is quite simple. What I'm intending to do is essentially stream from Friday night all the way through until Tuesday. All the way through. So you get SmackDown, you get the Hall of Fame, you get NXT, you get Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania, you get a Raw watch party, and you get an NXT watch party to enjoy there. Now, if that's something you're interested in, or if you're interested in breaking news such as Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, that was first reported here. This news about Omos and Bobby Lashley, which was discussed several times while I've been hosting these videos. And of course, big news such as the Shane McMahon return, the Becky Lynch return, and others. Be sure to hit like on this video and subscribe. We are currently at 1,055 subscribers and growing. Over the last 3 months, we've gained 100 subscribers each month. And there is a reason that is happening. We are building constantly because we are reporting news constantly and we are growing constantly. I may have overdone the word constantly there, but I did what I did and I'm okay with it. The multi-stream thing is not quite working at the moment. I'm going to have to work that one out. Sean says, hello Tom, good to see you on this Monday evening, and you sir. Your thoughts on the report by Ringside News that WWE is planning to make WrestleMania a permanent 2-night event. I believe this was originally reported by Wrestling Observer, to be clear on that one. There's also plenty that the Wrestling Observer has not reported, which has been claimed to have been reported by them, so we're keeping an eye on that one as it goes. The WWE are strongly considering making WrestleMania a 2-night event. They have not yet decided to make it permanent. When they do, they will officially announce that. Likely, if it has happened, it will be at WrestleMania. But this isn't new. Certainly, they've been considering this one for a while. It was several months ago now that I first mentioned on Twitter when the reports first came out that this year's WrestleMania might end up being 2-night. I first reported on Twitter that the WWE considered all the different possibilities the year before, still landed on a second straight year of 2-night. The plan is to be 2-night going forwards, and I would be very surprised if there is any deviation in that. Vitaly says, good evening yourself. Moxley says, I think Bobby needs to win against Omos to make him look strong so he can beat Reigns for the WWE title after WrestleMania. There will not be a feud between Lashley and Roman Reigns after WrestleMania to my knowledge. From what I can tell, the next competitor for Roman would be Seth. Meant Reigns there, to be clear. Vitaly says, thanks Tom once again for doing your job and to viewers for being here. That's lovely to say. Thank you kindly. Helen Vale TV says, Cody. Correct. Exact Jaden says, hey Tom, do you watch F1? I do. It's a new thing. I only started watching this season, But it was a surprise to me what happened at the weekend, because I'd chosen to support Carlos Sainz, who came in second at this first race, because he seemed consistently average and always in 6th place, and then he wasn't. Boo. Douglas Bino says, greetings Tom, I hope WWE return the Superstar Shake-Up post-Mania. It doesn't look like it's going to be post-Mania, though I personally agree that it should be. They were planning to do a post-WrestleMania after WrestleMania 2 years ago, but they pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back until fans were back for the event. I do think they will eventually move back to Shake-Ups post-WrestleMania. Post-WrestleMania makes the most sense, as that's the season finale, and then the season premiere in the weeks after, you should probably have a shake-up. But the draft makes them money in a rough time, so probably that. Justin Stevens says, does Lashley still need surgery? Not to my knowledge, no, although it's possible he does need surgery and he's just decided to have a WrestleMania match before he gets it. Hypnosis Bro says, hey Tom, are WWE content with Becky Lynch's Raw title run, because I've seen a mixed reaction to her title reign on social media. The WWE are very, very happy with Becky Lynch's championship reign. The primary reason that they're happy with it is because they know where it's going next. Sonic says, hello. Hypnosis Bro says, Seth Rollins' best theme is what exactly? I like them all, but what would you say it is? Burn it down in any stretch of the imagination. It's fantastic. Hello, Sonic. Bro also says, Bobby is returning to lose, isn't he? Lost his championship, never got a rematch. Sad times. I do believe he's returning to lose. They can always use the fact that he's still injured to sort of write it off. Moxie says, Tom, who do you think will be the first guy to beat Omos? I'm not sure. I think it's probably going to be someone quite high up. Probably someone like Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre makes the most sense to me personally. Michael says, daylight savings time just may be permanent here in the US sometime soon. I did see a vote on that, and I'm excited about it because it means in the winter, when it's really getting cold and the nights last forever, I won't have to stay up until 4 a.m. It'll be great. And Sean says, no Cody tonight? Possibly hints to him. Hints definitely. There's been hints for the past few weeks. No plans from what I can tell to have Cody Rhodes appear tonight. To my knowledge, the first time we are going to see Cody Rhodes in the WWE would be WrestleMania itself. Simon Welcome says, the YouTube views on SmackDown's episode from Friday. Sasha's tag team match drew nearly 700k. Second only to Roman Brock segment. Ronda and Charlotte segment only drew 480,000 views. Not working. Wouldn't say it's not working. 480,000 views is still a good amount of views. And also a lot of people won't have needed to see that because they tuned in for the main event. So we have to consider that point. Also, people keep telling me Sasha's an incredible draw, much stronger than Charlotte. If that is the case, and you can't say Charlotte isn't working by not being a stronger draw than Sasha, because you've already said to me Sasha's a stronger draw anyway. Andrew Quinn, welcome mate. Says, good evening Tom. Are you happy that WWE shows Raw and SmackDown times are better at 12 than 1? Also, Raw should be exciting. I feel more references about Cody tonight. Don't see him turning up. I'm much happier. Much happier with the 12 p.m. start. I really am. It's a hell of a lot better for me personally, and I feel a hell of a lot better for basically everyone here in the UK. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to get to bed on time. It's very nice. It's very nice. And Wrestler Fan says, is Bobby Lashley versus Omos happening at WrestleMania 38? That looks like it's going to be the match. That is what's planned. The WWE have been looking forward to doing Lashley versus Omos for a while, based on crowd reaction when they had a stare down during a tag match, I believe it was, in weeks past. Of course, after that, AJ Omos and Bobby Lashley teamed together, but we got where we got. Moxie says, I think Roman or Brock will beat Omos. I don't see it because that's heel on heel. Brock's a maybe, but he certainly doesn't need it, and I think he's going to be vanishing a little bit in the previous. Logically for me, it's still Drew McIntyre. And Sean says, would Lashley versus Omos be pre-show or main card? I don't know. It's hard to see at the moment what's going to happen. And here's a bit of an exclusive for you, because I know you guys are here for the exclusives. The Alpha Academy were not planned to be a part of the Raw Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania. Randy Orton went to bat for them. Randy Orton literally stepped into the office and said, Vince, you can't do this. You can't do it. You've got to get him on the card. You've absolutely got to get these two on the card. He went to bat for those two, and it absolutely succeeded. So Alpha Academy are now added to the Raw Tag Team Championship match for WrestleMania. I think the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match risks being on the pre-show, but at the same time, there aren't that many matches. There aren't. So you don't necessarily need pre-show matches, especially if you're not going to have the Battle Royals. Have 4 hours night 1, 4 hours night 2, and a 1 hour pre-show in which there's no wrestling. I'd be happy with that. WrestleMania shouldn't need a pre-show. It should sell itself. Ed Fry says, to correct Simon's incredibly skewed numbers, Charlotte Ronda is 494,000 and Sasha Naomi is 634,000. So the gap is much smaller than you were given the perception. Thank you for that correction, Ed. Simon, you said 700,000 views. 634,000 is not 700,000. It's not. Also, 494 is very close to 500,000, so really is much closer. Thank you, Ed, for publishing that correction. When we start moving towards Team Colohue, we're going to be looking at the people who are publishing the most correct information, and they're going to be the ones that I want to pay to have around, as it were. So please keep that in mind. Jaden says, are you for Lewis? He's from the UK. I'm a fan of his. I was sad when Max had to retire his car. I'm from the Netherlands, so is Max. I don't really support people based on their nationality. I know a lot of people do. I know it's considered the done thing. But just because someone's from the UK, that doesn't make me care about them. I know Drew McIntyre is from the UK. I still think Seth Rollins is more interesting to me. I still think AJ Styles is the best wrestler in the world. I don't look at things that way personally. I like Carlos Sainz because he seemed consistently average. And he was like one of those B-plus players, you know? The ones that you can root for, knowing that they'll never get to the top level. With absolute confidence, they will never get to the top level. So you'll always feel slightly slighted, but also like they've got a fighting chance. Did not happen that way. Did not happen that way. Calm Down on YouTube says, Toni Storm really doesn't need wrestling no more. She's making more money right now. Debatable on that. We don't know what her WWE contract was, but what I will say with absolute confidence is that she is making a lot of money right now on her OnlyFans. There are a wealth of secondary incomes and jobs right now based on star power and reach that can make you a hell of a lot of money. And I know this because I'm trying to get involved in one without any star power or reach. And here we are on the Tom Colohue YouTube and Twitch channels. If you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. That like button can make a big difference. And remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Dimitar says, no way the women's tag match is a pre-show, right? No way. Justin Stevens says, so WWE does 2 Mania Battle Royals when Mania was 1 night, but don't do them at all when it's 2 nights. It makes no sense. The reason for that, Justin, is simply because they don't have the roster to fill 2 Battle Royals anymore, so they're getting people on the card in other manners. Hector says, happy Monday, Tom. I know this may be a stretch, but do you think Fox ever has felt slighted that they're not 3 hours and Raw is? Would they ever be able to ask for that considering the amount of money they're spending? They would be able to ask for it. In fact, the WWE have asked for it. It is Fox that has said no. Fox do not want the 3rd hour. Fox has a much more lucrative show that starts at 10 p.m. Jake also asked, could they put the women's tag titles on the pre-show if there is one? They could, they won't. Moxie says, Tom Brock is booked for WrestleMania Backlash, Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. I saw that on Wrestling Inc. Have not seen that personally. I'd be interested to see what happens though. And Jay Quick gives it the hashtag Team Colohue. I agree. Okay, Moxie giving some more spoilers, saying that Roman versus Brock is booked for Money in the Bank and Brock versus Edge is booked for SummerSlam. I'm not sure on either of those, that's all I'll say there. Andrew Quinn says, I feel like if Seth has a match tonight, they play Cody's music, he gets distracted, loses, and it would be a great stunt by WWE with no Cody there tonight. I don't think that's likely. I think we don't see, hear, or hear any hint whatsoever of Cody until WrestleMania. It's your boy Kevin says, I wonder how the WrestleMania stage is going to look. Hopefully fun. Hopefully fun. I'm excited for that. Ed says, Fox's more lucrative show is the local news in every US market. Not sure it is lucrative. It actually kind of is. You say lucrative, it is of course public access in that regard, but there is a commitment by certain channels to provide news, and that's the way that they engage viewership. Have you ever seen the ratings for the news? I know it's local news for the areas, but it's still news, and it's a lead-in program as well to like the rest of the news. Fox wants to be a news network first and foremost, and you can see that in the ratings that they get for their news. But you would know better than me on that one. Jay says, hey Tom, is Becky opening the show and doing a promo with Bianca attacking? That's very specific and I have no idea. Hypnosis Bro says, will Bianca be on either Raw in the next 2 weeks since they announced she is out for an undisclosed time? My thinking is Bianca makes her miraculous comeback at WrestleMania itself, mirroring SM. I don't know what SM is. I don't know what that is. But what I will say is that she is likely to be on Raw in the next 2 weeks. Probably the go-home Raw in the build to WrestleMania. No calm down. It is a kayfabe injury. That's why it's exactly the same injury that Becky Lynch got. Simon says, I just want to say I really respect Charlotte as a really amazing athlete, amazing pro wrestler, but when Sasha, Liv, Naomi get bigger pops than in your hometown, Charlotte is far too forced, overpushed. Of course, Sasha gets bigger pops than Charlotte. Sasha is a face. A heel's not going to get a bigger pop than a face. Especially when they're about the same level. I mean, you're looking at this very wrong, Simon. Wrestler Fan says, because the WrestleMania 38 kickoff show is 2 hours, does that mean we are definitely getting some matches on each night kickoff show? No. It does not mean anything for definite. I do think they're going to move a couple of matches down to the kickoff show. For example, Finn Balor, Damian Priest. But I think it's more likely to be a SmackDown Tag Team Championships and US Championship match that actually make way for it. With the amount of matches that they have, I don't think they should. Justin says, Bianca's first opponent after Becky will be who? Bayley, Alexa, Asuka, or NXT call-up? Yeah, one of them, probably. I think Alexa's the most likely, to be honest. Hello, Steve. How are you, mate? How are you? Moxie says, give me Sonya versus Asuka at WrestleMania. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes, Sonya Deville needs a match for WrestleMania. She's earned it. Also says, who gets the biggest top 3 biggest entrance at WrestleMania? Roman. Definitely. Brock. And Cody. Even though Charlotte's going to get a hell of an entrance, those are the ones. Megan says the Women's Battle Royal would still be mostly NXT even if they did it. Right now the only women not on the card for Raw and SmackDown are Alexa, Dana, Piper, Tamina, Nikki, Aaliyah, Shotzi, Sonya and Zaya. It's a good read of people, isn't it? It's an exciting list, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So I get why the Battle Royals have been scrapped. Megan says, also hello. Hello, mate. Sean says, PW Insider reported that the Usos, Nakamura and Boogs are backstage at Raw tonight in Chicago and they will compete in a dark match. Yeah, exciting concept. I mean, this is a good chance for them to get some practice, develop their chemistry, and yes, just an entertaining dark match. The crowd will pop for Nakamura's fame, so they should. Dimitar says, Sunday it's really tag team heavy now since they added the Raw tag team title match there, which is why I think have they got the Mysterios versus Miz and Logan Paul on night 1? I think they do. And then probably the SmackDown Tag Team Championships there as well. Dimitar says, I expect it to be a Becky rematch and then say Asuka or Bayley. I would expect Becky to get a chance again at some point, though I don't think the rematch would likely be immediate because there's just a lot of immediate rematches likely for WrestleMania Backlash. But when it comes to WrestleMania Backlash, I do feel they will move on pretty quickly with Bianca. Becky wants to be losing to a variety of people. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bayley when she returns. This is an ideal chance to take losses for Becky Lynch. Sai says, evening all. The Mania build is a mess, pushing a match that likely won't happen, Austin Owens, pretending a match won't happen that will, Bianca Becky, and blanking on a match they probably will. Ironically, the card isn't bad at all. That last part was about Cody. They've built it strangely. I will accept that. They've definitely built this one strangely in very last minute. Hypnosis Bro says WrestleMania 33 might be one of the best WrestleMania sets I've seen in my lifetime. Is that one the one with the really long? That was going somewhere, but I said an R when I should have said no. A really long ramp. There's a lot of R's there. I got confused. Dimitar says, though it really depends on how they want to push Bayley. I really want Bayley versus Becky to happen at SummerSlam. I'd be excited by that, and honestly, I feel Bayley's been overlooked for long enough. For long enough for me. Austin Palmiter says, just got here, what did I miss? We did talk briefly at the top of the show about Omos versus Bobby Lashley being planned for WrestleMania. I think this is likely a night 1 match, though it depends what else they announce for night 2, of course. My expectation is that Omos would be winning and Bobby Lashley would be losing, but I definitely think that would be a night one match. SM equals SummerSlam. Got it, thank you. Is your boy Kevin says, Tom, how positive are you that Sasha and Naomi are winning the tag titles at WrestleMania? Very, very positive. Freaks of Wrestling podcast says, did you see that the Usos, Nakamura and Rick Boogs are backstage at Raw? I did see that. I don't think we're going to see them on Raw tonight. Jermaine Presley, thank you very much. Thank you kindly for joining the channel. I can't see if you've gone channel supporter, channel member, whichever one works for you. Channel supporter. Welcome as a channel supporter. Thank you kindly for your support. For anyone who doesn't know, we do have channel memberships now. You can support to the tune of $1 per month. That's $12 per year as a channel supporter. You can support to the tune of $5 per month, which is $60 per year as a channel member. Or you can go insane and pitch $25 per month as a Team Colohue member. Now, naturally, as more members join and more people choose to support, there will be more and more perks and advantages that come with that. But after WrestleMania, I'll be planning our first members-only live streams, and I'm putting together our first members-only videos over the next few days. Thank you, Jermaine. I appreciate that. Justin says 17 to 18 heel Alexa was getting bigger pops than some faces, but I'm not here to argue. There are exceptions to the rule. There definitely are. Charlotte is not one of them. Charlotte's not one of them. Simon says, I'm petrified that Ronda, if she goes to Raw later on in the year post-draft, they will feed Liv, Rhea, Bianca to her the future of their company's women's division. They will. They absolutely will do that, because then that will get them more over with casuals. Same reason they feed people to Brock. I guess them more over with casuals by putting them in front of people who just tune in for those matches. Steve says, if you look at the wrestlers from Mania last year, which superstars would you say have benefited in a stronger position for Mania this year as a result from their booking at Mania last year? Bobby Lashley, I feel, did well, but not all the way through to WrestleMania. He was certainly looking strong. Drew McIntyre gained an advantage, but did not take that upper echelon. I'm definitely looking at the big names. Sasha Banks benefited, even though I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me there. Her stock has never been higher in the WWE. Wow, my hair's gone insane. What is that? Nope. Her stock has never been higher in the WWE since that moment. Bianca Belair obviously rose with no ashes to rise from. She just plain rose. And there are plenty more, I feel, that really managed to do good things, as it were. There's also a lot of Shane McMahon's and Braun Strowman's who are just gone. If you're currently watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that like button. We currently have 41 viewers and only 9 likes. So if you can, please do remember to click that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Megan says, Logan and Miz vs Mysterios is night 1, along with Usos vs Nakamura and Boogs. Raw Tag Team title match, triple threat and women's tag match are on night 2. So a nice balance of tag matches there. Megan says there's 5 matches confirmed for night 1 right now and 6 for night 2. For WrestleMania, that's not many matches. Sean says, next Hall of Fame inductee tonight. They are more likely to announce inductees on social media, though this would be an ideal time to induct someone posthumously, of course. Hello, Wiggly. How you doing, mate? Moxie says, Tom, did you see Dave Meltzer said that whoever wins in the match with Cody versus Seth, the winner will face Roman at Backlash for the WWE title? No, I didn't see that, mostly because Dave Meltzer did not report that. Here's one of the things that you'll see from a lot of different aggregators. Aggregators report what other aggregators report, and then the original aggregators will aggregate what the other aggregators report based on what they have aggregated. It's a mess. A lot of different people went looking for this Dave Meltzer report. They didn't find it. It's not real. Hector says, I know you've mentioned different people that you believe will be called up from NXT after Mania. Any chances they could bring Solo Sikoa up to help further the Bloodline storyline? I don't want that. Primarily because the only reason they would bring up Solo Sikoa, the only use they would have for Solo Sikoa, is as a henchman in the Bloodline, and he would be the 5th most important person there. I'd rather see him grow, develop an NXT, develop his own character, and then move up. Michael says, will there be rematches at Backlash? There absolutely will. There'll be quite a number of them. Matthew Ham says, any updates on the 38 Mania card? Well, the latest one, of course, is talking about the fact that we've got Omos versus Bobby Lashley being added to the card, probably on night 1. And to be honest, that may be it until we get whatever's going on with the New Day versus Sheamus, fight night lined up. And of course, Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, which would leave us with 7 matches per night. Personally, I'd be very happy with that. Simon says, to Dimitar, Sasha is far more popular. Yeah, I can't say that for certain. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. She has some mainstream appeal. So does Charlotte. Charlotte has also been on TV shows. Let's not forget that. Jermaine says, hi Tom, saw that Natalya posted she's going to be on Raw tonight, beating someone up. Yeah, they are starting to heat up what's going on with that women's tag match, but it is in small segments. It's fun. It's fun. Dimitar nails it here. They are more over. That doesn't mean Charlotte isn't over herself. It doesn't have to be one person over the other. It really doesn't. Jaden says, I would be surprised if Sasha and Naomi lose. It would be a WWE-like thing. It's not impossible, but it's very likely that Sasha's taking those championships with Naomi. Bro says, will Bayley's return get a bigger pop than Becky's SummerSlam return? I'm definitely excited to find out. Yeah, I cannot answer that, but yeah, I'm also excited to find out. Douglas Bino says, any update and plans for Ricochet? Not at this point in time. A match is not scheduled for him on the WrestleMania listings. If it does happen, it'll be very late in the day. Austin says, is it possible we see Cody tonight? Yes. It's also very unlikely. Sonic says, this weekend there's barely no update on Asuka on her Twitter. Yeah, because there's nothing to update. There's nothing to update at all. And if there's nothing to update, they're not going to update you. Okay, Simon, I'm going to go ahead and stop reading what you're putting because it's all the exact same thing. Resident Evil AMC says, hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm very good, thank you. I hope you're good as well. Ronaldinho Nichols says, I'm back. Welcome back, Ronaldinho. Welcome to the show. Steve says, Dominic Mysterio has so much to gain in that tag match at Mania. Would you agree he should get the winning pinfall over The Miz? I absolutely do. And I think both Rey Mysterio and The Miz will be on a mission to make that happen. Everyone in that match is aiming for the same thing. And that same thing is for Dominic Mysterio to look great. Hypnosis Bro says, would Becky versus Bianca be a squash? No, there is. Why would that happen? What we're going to get is a wrestling match between two women. Why would there be a squash? Patrick Ballantyne is here saying, hi Tom. Welcome Patrick, how you doing, mate? Hypnosis Bro says, what's more likely getting a stipulation match? Becky versus Bianca or Charlotte versus Ronda? I know it's neither, but let's just say it is. Definitely Charlotte versus Ronda. 100% Charlotte versus Ronda. If you're a regular here, you may know the stipulation we're talking about. Austin says, I think I've asked already. There's no watch party tonight. There is no watch party tonight, no. The next Raw watch party will be the Raw after WrestleMania. From Friday before WrestleMania until Tuesday after WrestleMania, you'll get 5 straight days of watch parties, which will include 7 watch parties total, because you get SmackDown, Hall of Fame, NXT Stand and Deliver, Night 1 of WrestleMania, Night 2 of WrestleMania, Raw, NXT. Steve says, Booker T has apparently suggested an idea of a ladder match for the IC title as a tribute for Scott Hall at WrestleMania. I think this would be a very nice tribute. Would you like to see this as well? It wouldn't be a bad shout, except for one thing. Ricochet has no opponent. If there was an actual feud for the IC Championship, that would make sense. But there is no feud. There is no one lined up to take his spot. There is barely anyone on SmackDown and barely any heels. So what would that ladder match be? The only real option is adding Ricochet to the match between Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville and making that for the title. But I don't think Johnny Knoxville is going to be appreciative of that. Megan says it might not be a lot, but last year was 7 matches each night with no pre-show matches either. This is why I'm definitely certain there's going to be no squashes. I think that's a perfect amount, to be honest. Jermaine says, Tom, Sportskeeda said that Sonya is teasing a major feud with Sasha Banks and Naomi going forwards. My guess from now until probably the draft. That I would imagine there was more, but that's what you've ended on. You do run out of characters on this one. I don't necessarily think Sonya is teasing a major feud. I think Sonya is continuing the feud that she already has with Naomi. and I think it's up to the WWE what happens from that. Sonya is going to be a major player going forwards. 100%. Sonya is going to be a major player going forwards. So keep your eye on that one. Wiggly says, I want them to build Cody up for the WWE title and win it off Roman at WrestleMania next year. So he wins the Royal Rumble and builds a long-running feud with Roman. Well, all the rumours are that that's going to be The Rock. So, as Wiggly says, dropping it to The Rock or Cena wouldn't work. With Cody's not passing the torch per se would be an epic moment. I find it much more likely that Cody will win the championship before that, within his first 12 months. Moxie says, Tom, who do you think will join the Bloodline next? The next two people and when? 0. I think nobody will join the Bloodline from here. I think the Bloodline is exactly as it's meant to be and exactly as it's best right now. If you added people to the Shield, would it have made the Shield better? Hector says, do you think we're getting more Hall of Fame announcements? If so, any guesses on who you like or think would be inducted? I think it's much more likely to be on social media we get Hall of Fame announcements than in actual WWE programming. I still have my eye on a couple of people, for example Stacey Keebler, but that may be for different reasons. Sean says, Johnny Gargano put out on his Instagram he will be at WrestleCon in Dallas on April 1st and 2nd signing autographs. Didn't reveal the time he would be there though, that's because it's not set in stone just yet. Megan says, not sure if anyone has mentioned this, but Brandi Rhodes has given an interview to Deadline about her new production partnership to bring a shot of Brandi to television. The USA Network may or may not be interested in Cody Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes as potential TV reality stars. And barely interesting, welcome mate, said the Shield added Kurt Angle. No, they replaced Roman with Kurt Angle for one night, and let's not forget they did that with Triple H. Was it better? No, but we got that great moment where their dad was behind them. It's not quite the same thing, and you know that. Woody says, hey Tom, how are you? Heyman to turn on Roman and rejoin Lesnar at Mania. I really hope not. That would be boring, a bit crap, and has already been done several times. Resident Evil AMC says, today is days away from WrestleMania, Becky versus Bianca. We're getting very, very close. We are, 11 days away? I'm a bit meh about the whole thing, but hopefully it'll be a good show. Patrick says, I hate how people think Charlotte is to blame for her match with Sasha not happening at WrestleMania. I believe it was Vince who changed the plan to Flair versus Ronda. It was Vince who made the decision that Sasha Banks would not be wrestling Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. It had absolutely nothing to do with Charlotte. Absolutely nothing. I know there are a hell of a lot of rumours about, Charlotte's pushing for the match. If you're Liv Morgan, wouldn't you be pushing for a match with Sasha Banks? If you're Toni Storm, wouldn't you be pushing for a match with Britt Baker? Don't you want to fight the biggest names in the world? I don't blame her for that. Especially with all the crap she's been through recently, let's be honest. Dimitar says, honestly, I think Becky Bianca needs a step more. I personally disagree. I just think the build has been good and we know we're going to get a high quality wrestling match. Whereas the match between Ronda and Charlotte is built on a stipulation that we don't have yet. King Zandy, howdy, says, hey, joining late. Don't know if you mentioned already, but are Sasha and Naomi on Raw tonight? Need a reason to watch after months of not doing so. No, they are not on Raw tonight. At least that is not the plan. Sorry guys, just got to get rid of someone. The same little racist we always get. Who will undoubtedly, if a real person, probably stab someone eventually. Bye-bye. But more importantly, as I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah. Sasha and Naomi are going to be continuing to build things up, but it's really based on as and when it comes to Raw. They are there in case they want to build up to the particular tag team match, but they also have a lot on Raw. So if they run over or run behind in this case, they have people ready to slot in, but that was the case last week as well. Dimitar says, got to end it with something big. That's fair. I don't necessarily see it with Becky Bianca though. Steve says, I'd have Carmelo Hayes lose his ladder match at Stand and Deliver and try to obtain the IC title in the match type he lost his title. Fantasy booking, that will not happen, but I think Hayes is ready for the call-up. Here's my immediate issue with that. That's really no selling a ladder match from like 3-4 hours earlier. Really no selling it. I think it's worth pointing out, you can have a ladder match on Stand and Deliver, and then that's something that you don't want on the WrestleMania main card because of that. You can still pay tribute in NXT. Hypnosis Pro says, I need Roman Reigns versus Becky Lynch. You may not know why I'm saying this, but Becky's been taking shots at Roman for fun. Becky takes shots at everyone for fun, let's be honest. Austin said, it's crazy that it's WrestleMania already. It is indeed. And Jermaine says, hey Tom, who gets called up first, MSK or Imperium with Gunter? I think Imperium with Gunter would be called up sooner because SmackDown needs people. Dimitar says, speaking of reality shows, I've heard rumours that the WWE wants to continue the Carmella Corey show and film the wedding and possible pregnancy. Let's not count our chickens before they hatch, which is of course very apt for what we're saying here. Let's give them a little bit of time and a little bit of space, okay? And let them do what they want to do. The WWE is interested in continuing the Corey Graves and Carmella show. That's all we really need to focus on. Hypnosis Bro says, I actually like the name Butch. I don't hate it. I genuinely don't. And Steve says, Charlotte Flair has to be one of the unappreciated talents of any generation. Heck of a talent. She'll be missed when she retires. Even if certain fans don't see that now, they will later. I feel Charlotte Flair will eventually be that Randy Orton figure. You know how Randy Orton wasn't loved until 20 years later when suddenly everyone was like, oh yeah, that guy's good, isn't he? Yeah, I like that guy. And everyone caught up. That moment will be coming for Charlotte Flair. Sama says, a True Geordie interviews The Undertaker today. Fantastic interview. That was a surprise to me. True Geordie, of course, is a football streamer who started out ranting at Newcastle United and then made it massive. Austin says, possible Shayna on Raw tonight? Well, if Natalia's there, Shayna should be. Justin says, just curious, is there any reason why Becky doesn't want to work or doesn't mention Alexa when asked who she wants to feud with? Haven't been feuding since late 16, early 17, and it was great. I'm guessing this is based on what I said way back when I listed a number of different people that Becky wanted to work with. To my knowledge, the basis of Becky wanting to work with people is not just that they're good, but also that they haven't had many chances before. Alexa Bliss does not fit that category. Sonic says, indeed, Steve, Charlotte Flair is by far the most underappreciated talent, and everyone else says that Asuka is the most underappreciated talent. Again, not everyone else, just to be clear, Sonic, not everyone else says that. That's just something that you're very familiar with because you are a massive Asuka fan and you are surrounded by Asuka news. Sean says, would WWE get Rhodes to the top now that Cody is back with WWE? They could get something like it, but they wouldn't necessarily get the exact same thing. It depends how involved AEW were, which to my knowledge was not at all. Moxie says, Sheamus versus Ricochet and Butch and Ridge versus Xavier and Kofi. Certainly, I think that's a possibility and should be considered. That, I feel, is the most likely scenario, where Sheamus would be the one taking on Ricochet. They've already had a few matches. That definitely would not be a ladder match, and it would be a last-minute change. Moxie says, Roman versus Brock, anything goes at Mania, because after the match, both men are going to be busted up with blood everywhere. Suddenly, everyone is talking about stipulations. Where did this come from? Larry says, I always miss the racists. I like seeing racists. Reminds me I'm not the biggest dickhead in the room, which is always nice to know. It is, isn't it? It is. A bit of reassurance that you're not horrible. It's wonderful. They've been timed out, so I'm sure they'll pop back up again on the YouTube side. It's the same one, saying the exact same thing. We've had a few weeks of out. What a shame that they found their way back here. Sean says, speaking of Imperium, I hope Def Rebel doesn't touch their theme. It's a banger. Hector says, I remember when everyone hated Cena. I honestly miss having him around. He was a good worker and good promo guy. The only thing he did that made no sense was burying the Nexus. Yeah, he was told he was going to be winning that match. He wasn't told how he was going to win that match. And yeah, it wasn't great. And Sean said, I wish WWE would have kept Tegan Nox. Becky wanted to face her, and I think it would have been a good feud, I believe. I agree. I absolutely agree. That moment would have come. Moxie says, Tom, did you see Sasha say she's better than Roman and she said she wants a match with Roman? Yeah, I did see that. Everyone has been saying that about Roman. Everyone. Because you get clicks for it. Fairly basic social media stuff. Sergio, welcome to the show, mate. Says, do you think the plan could be to have Seth Rollins have an open challenge at WrestleMania and Cody Rhodes returns? Yes, I've been talking about that particular idea for a couple of weeks now. For a while. Kings Andy says, so night 2 has Brock Reigns, AJ Edge, Sasha Naomi, triple threat Raw tag. What reasons do I have to watch night 1? I love Bianca, but I've seen her matches with Becky. Well, you've not just got that. You've got Johnny Knoxville. Johnny Knoxville. You got Logan Paul. No? No? Did I nearly have you? No, didn't think I did. Didn't think I did. If you're currently watching on Twitch, please do consider hitting that follow button, that little purple button underneath the video. We are currently at 461 followers, and every little does help as we get closer to 500. Our average viewership continues to level off at about 10, which is pretty good on the Twitch side. And from here on out, we are continuing to grow at a very warm pace. I'm very happy with it. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can also hit that thumbs up. That like button can make a massive difference, and every subscriber helps as well. At last check, we were at 1,055 subscribers. 1,055. I am hoping to reach a particular landmark in and around WrestleMania time, and I don't think it's impossible anymore. I won't say what the landmark is, but it's quite a big number, and it would show that we're really going places. Patrick Ballantyne says, if Becky starts giving back and begins losing more after WrestleMania, I'll be happy. I want Charlotte to start giving back and losing more as well. Even I want Alexa to start giving back. Alexa's been there and back again. In her tag team with Nikki Cross, she did lose a lot of matches. In her feud with Bayley way back when Bayley first won the SmackDown Women's Championship as a face, she lost quite a few matches. She gave back to Nia Jax. She hasn't given back in the last year or so because she's been in a very different storyline, but she did go through a very big period of giving back that I think we should remember. Simon says, didn't know that The Undertaker was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even though I knew he was a massive MMA, UFC boxing fan. Indeed, that's where the Hell's Gate comes from. Hypnosis Bro says, do you think Liverpool will win the quad? No. Do you think they'll beat Man City twice in a week? Maybe. Do you think you'd win the league? Maybe. I think it's more likely that what happens is Liverpool get League Cup and Champions League, and City get League and FA Cup. That's what I think is more likely. Austin says, I got a feeling the Lesnar-Roman match is going to have someone busted, like Mania 34. Lesnar keeps saying blood for blood. He does say that. The thing is, it's Roman and Brock. They're going to get hardcore. That's just what they do. There is no denying. Those two are going to go crazy on it. They're going to go nuts. It's amazing. Andrew Quinn says, apparently now on Sunday, WrestleMania Night 2, tag title will be Triple Threat, RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. Ringside News reported it. Did Ringside News report it? Because I saw that first from the WWE's Twitter account. Gotta check your sources, guys. I'm pretty sure that came direct from WWE. And the main reason for that, I've mentioned this a few times here, I'm going to mention it one more time. Randy Orton went to bat for the Alpha Academy, stating that Chad Gable and Omos needed to be on that WrestleMania card in that tag team championship picture. Randy Orton wanted it, Randy Orton asked for it, and Randy Orton has got it. He went to bat for those two. Dimitar says, what Becky and Sasha are doing is clearly number one, kayfabe, and two, it gets them clicks and noise. Yeah, they're both very good on social media. Also, there may be a bit of a Twitter battle as to who has the most followers there. Becky's a master at this, whereas Sasha is Sasha Banks. People just click on what she says, no matter what it is that she does say. Jermaine says, and that's why they're talking about having the Steve Austin KO show segment last thing to happen on WrestleMania Night 1, because as of right now, Night 1's card is looking really weak. I disagree with that. I don't think Night 1's card is looking that weak. The fact that you've got the two women's championship matches puts it in a very good position, at least from where I'm sitting, but it is sort of the celebrity one. And yes, I count Stone Cold Steve Austin as a celebrity there. That is the rumour that the KO show will close the night, so neither of the women's matches would get the main event. King Xander says, to be fair, Sasha doesn't need Roman to get clicks. The woman's a simp machine. I get what you're trying to say there. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Sergio says, are you going to be live for Raw after WrestleMania? I absolutely am. For WrestleMania, I'm planning to do 5 days of streams. Friday for SmackDown and for the Hall of Fame. Saturday for NXT Stand and Deliver and Night 1. Sunday for Night 2. Monday for Raw and Tuesday for NXT. Just go for the straight 5 days and see how well we grow in that time. Simon says, Tom, do you think Haku is the toughest legit badass in the history of the business? No. Brock Lesnar. Like, genuinely Brock Lesnar. Haku wouldn't have stood a chance. Steve says, I'm on a hill on my own here, but I believe Sammy in Knoxville is actually going to be decent. The story for this has been booked very well and stipulation fits perfectly. I agree. I think they've put together something interesting, but I can't see this match lasting more than like 5 minutes. I just, step aside on that one. Jermaine says, I have a feeling they might move some matches around night 1 and night 2 WrestleMania card to even it out. To my knowledge at the moment, no plans for that. Steve loves that we have a Haku question. Patrick says, Randy Orton is a legend. That's why I love him. He wants to give others a chance. In my opinion, Alpha Academy shouldn't have lost their titles on Raw. I hope they win at WrestleMania. To be fair, they may win them back at WrestleMania. Stranger things have happened. And Dimitar says, cage side isn't trustworthy most times from what I've gathered. Do you mean cage side there or ringside? Because ringside definitely ain't. Cage side, to my knowledge, don't actually report news. They just re-report it and aggregate it. Sean says, Io and Kaylee Ray versus Wendy and Dakota on NXT tomorrow, along with A-Kid versus Grayson Waller to qualify for the North American title ladder match. Who do you see winning these? A-Kid, because of the debut, and also he'd be very good in a ladder match. And honestly, it's a difficult one for the tag match. I can see either team going through. I'm going to go with Wendy and Dakota, but to be blunt, I'm not sure. Larry says, if Cody comes to WWE, it'll be to form a tag team with Bad Bunny. Write this down. You heard me make it up first. I did. And I will fight for your right to be reported with what you've made up. 100%. 100%. What would it be? The Nightmare Bunny? The American Bad? American Badass? One thing like that. Larry says, Gable and Otis are just a brilliant tag team. Whoever put them together deserves a bonus. It was a bit of a throwaway concept. Essentially, neither man were doing anything and they got really close backstage, so they formed a tag team. Gable has a habit of whenever he isn't doing anything, he just goes out to find a tag team partner. It's actually quite good. Hector says, it's still crazy to me that Mark Calloway could have 3 Hall of Fame careers. Deadman, American Badass, and the Ministry Taker. Ministry Taker was a very short amount of time, to be fair, but I get what you're saying. What a once-in-a-lifetime character. I'm glad I've got to see him wrestle all these years. I am very glad that I lived through the era of The Undertaker. I really am. And saw basically everything he's ever done. He may well be the best there's ever been. Moxie says, Tom, who gets busted open first, Roman or Brock? I'm saying Brock. Brock, yeah, mostly because Usos. Sean says if Dakota wins, she'll be a 2-time Dusty Classic winner, and she'll have fully deserved it. As you all know, I'm a very big Dakota Kai fan. King Xander says, what's your view on NXT 2.0? I enjoy it because it harkens back to the Dusty days. I love 2017-19 Black and Gold, but developmental NXT is what gave me Sasha, Big E, etc. I don't hate NXT 2.0. I can't sit here and say it's the best thing in the world, because it's not. But I don't hate it. What I've seen, I've really enjoyed. And for me, it's made like a strong impact on what I would personally be expecting. We have a new member who has just joined. It hasn't popped up in notifications, but I want to say thank you to Ray J's World, who joins us as a channel member. Thank you very kindly, Ray J's World, for joining here. I always want to say thank you to the new channel members, even if they don't immediately pop up. Will they pop up on viewer activity? I'm just going to double check this, make sure, because I don't want to miss anything. I want to thank everyone who joins us. Hasn't popped up there, but it has popped up here. A new channel member, Ray J's World. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate that. Patrick says, Io and Kaylee Ray are winning the Dusty Cup and beating Toxic Attraction. I wouldn't mind that. I think that would make perfect sense. They would then pair it with Cora Jade as a new champion as well, and Toxic Attraction would get the call-up. I think the call-up is definitely coming for those 3. Patrick also says, I hope Cora wins against Mandy Rose. Agreed. Simon says, historic question. Who do you think Taker / Stone Cold would have faced at Mania 16 in 2000 if they were both healthy? Probably each other. I'd say probably each other, yeah. It was always meant to be The Rock versus Triple H in the main event. I suspect it would have been Undertaker versus Big Show. As regards Steve Austin, I'm not sure. but Undertaker versus Big Show I'm confident on. King's Andy suggests Cody and Bad Bunny equal Nightmare Bunny, which is the first one I said, but I also quite like the American Bad. And then just don't say anything afterwards. I am American Bad. Yeah, but like, what? Are you American and you're bad? Are you the American Bad? Is America bad? Is that what you're trying to say? No, I'm American Bad. No, but what does that mean? Sean says, I saw where Jonah, formerly known as Bronson Reed, said he was promised a top spot by Triple H, and Conan said CM Punk is boring in AEW. People are entitled to their opinions as regards Conan. Some people will think that about CM Punk. I have quite enjoyed his feud of MJF. As regards Triple H promising a top spot, Bronson Reed did end up getting quite a top spot in NXT. Triple H cannot promise a top spot in the main rosters. He just can't. He doesn't have that sort of power, unfortunately. If you're watching on Twitch, please remember that you can click the follow button. That will mean that you get notifications every time we go live. You'll never miss a show. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference. We have peaked today, from what I can tell, at about 61 viewers across both platforms, which is absolutely fantastic. So I want to say a massive thank you. We've also gained some more subscribers on YouTube at the moment. We are sitting at 1,056, so we have gained one more subscriber during the show. And in addition to that, usually these videos are watched quite extensively the next day, and we'll get another 2 or 3. So I would expect that to go closer to 1,060 before the next 24 hours wraps up. In the meantime, of course, we have a new member, JJ's World, and of course Jermaine Presley has joined as a member as well. So thank you very kindly everyone for your continued support. You do have the option to join as a channel supporter at $1 a month, or a channel member at $5 a month, should you choose to. And in addition to that, you can also do super chats to support the channel on YouTube, and bit donations to support on Twitch, and renew any subscriptions that you so choose. Thank you everyone who continues to support. I am very, very grateful for all of you keeping me, at times, in takeaway pizza and rent and a roof over the head. So thank you very much. Ross Menzies, welcome. Says LA Knight is excellent. Hopefully they don't change anything with him when he gets called up from NXT. The whole point of NXT 2.0 is to create characters that don't need changing when they come up, that are well-rounded and created before they hit the big time, as it were. So they don't plan to change anything with LA Knight at this point in time. Jermaine says, I believe Wendy and Dakota will win because I think Io and Kaylee Ray are getting called up. They definitely need more women on the main roster. Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray are more than ready. Simon says, people say historically that Lita and Trish were the first women to main event Raw, but it was actually Steph versus Lita with The Rock as the referee. Lita won her first WWF/E Women's title. Yeah, but that wasn't quite a wrestling match, was it? Not quite the same thing. Dimitar says, I still think 2014-15 NXT is their best era. 4 Horsemen, Finn, Kevin and Sammy was quite fun. I do think when NXT started to go downhill for me is when the matches started becoming rematches and they got way too long. Hour-long matches, and it's the 3rd time we've seen it in a year, is simply not what NXT was built for. And that was because there was a log jam at the top. There's a log jam at the top where people can't get past it. And that means people aren't getting up to the main roster, and it's just not improving. Patrick says, many people have told me NXT 2.0 is to bury the black and gold NXT stars, which I don't buy this at all. B&G stars are still pushed. They are. Don't get me wrong. What came before is going to be phased out. But the WWE's aim is to make money. They don't intentionally bury their talent because when they do, they're not going to make as much money off them. They do genuinely try and make people get over in a way that will make the company money, not the individual. And that's the difference. The WWE doesn't exist to entertain. It exists to make money. King's Andy says, I want Toxic Attraction to retain. I need Io and Kaylee on SmackDown. Give me them versus Sasha and Naomi, and it's just time for them to move on from Florida. I agree with that, and I think it makes a lot of sense to be doing it that way as well. Dimitar says 2.0 is now mostly developmental, and for that they've also got to use the talent from the black and gold era. Indeed, as well as, of course, Dolph Ziggler. Moxie says, give me Dwayne Johnson versus Bobby Lashley. That would be fun. Good shout, Moxie. I like where your head is at. Moxie, hello, mate, says, hey, sorry I'm late. How are you? And have I missed any breaking news? Well, there's been a bit of news. At the top of the show, we did talk about, for example, Bobby Lashley, who looks to be returning to the WWE at WrestleMania. Oh, look, we got Troll. And Troll's already dealt with. That wasn't hard at all. To take on Omos. Omos looks like, instead of being in a Battle Royal, because there just aren't any men left, the Battle Royals will not be happening this year, Omos will be taking on Bobby Lashley instead, which I feel is a very good position for all of them. Larry says, Jonah versus PCO from the Impact pay-per-view a few weeks ago. Well worth a watch if it's available. Both men very good, so I could definitely say so. Sean says, last time Cora had a title match for the NXT Women's title, Vic Joseph said she would be youngest NXT Women's Champion. That's not true because Paige won it at 20. Is it possible WWE forgot Paige was the youngest champion, or do they want to forget she is? I don't know the details of that. I haven't really asked that question, so I can't really answer it. If you're currently viewing on Twitch, by the by, and you are someone who has Prime, Amazon Prime, linked to your account, so if you have one of those little crowns at the beginning of your name, you get a free channel subscription to a Twitch channel, and if you haven't already used it, please consider going down to the subscribe button, clicking on the drop down menu and clicking subscribe with Amazon Prime. It is absolutely free for you to subscribe to my Twitch using your Amazon Prime account, but I still get a small payment for it. So if you haven't already used it, please consider doing so, because if enough people do that, we get more money for Team Colohue, and of course we get hype trains and the like. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription and it's linked to your Twitch account and you have not already used it, please do consider using it for this channel here. Hector says, Tom, I know you're most a solo creator. Would you ever be on a podcast as a guest, or is that not something you're interested in? I actually first heard your name come up in a podcast called Going in Raw a couple of years ago, it seems like. It would have been a couple of years ago, yes. There was a brief time my name was all over the place for reporting the news that I report here. But lately, certain people don't want what I report here to be reported elsewhere. So it's not. That's the only way I can really describe it. I've encountered a lot of gatekeeping in my time reporting news, even though, and I think most of you would agree, I'm pretty good at my job. After all, if you're a regular viewer here, you knew that they were planning Bobby Lashley versus Omos eventually. You knew about the fatal 4-way tag team championship match for the women's side at WrestleMania before that was booked. You knew about Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. You knew when Ronda Rousey was going to be returning, when Becky Lynch was going to be returning, when Shane McMahon was going to be returning. I feel in the last few months, and in fact the last few years, I've done pretty good. However, when it comes to podcasts and the like, I do have a podcast on the PW Torch network, so that may be worth checking out, but that is a VIP only podcast at the moment. I don't have a lot of time outside of this sort of show, but I'm definitely considering, once Team Colohue goes live, making this into an actual podcast and uploading it onto podcast networks. Because why not? Ghost Welcome says, I jogged all the way here so I could make it to the stream before it ends, but I'm prepared to leave at any mention of a package. You're the one who said it. You're the one who said it. Welcome, mate. Lil Tortilla Boy, you alright, man? Says, my expectations for WrestleMania are insanely low, and I'm still going to watch it because I love wrestling. If the WWE is in a position where they've underpromised and will over-deliver, that's not a bad place to be as a fan. Not a bad place to be at all. So definitely worth considering going in with low expectations. Dimitar said, it's not exactly burying as regards NXT 2.0, but passing the torch. Indeed, NXT is not fit for purpose. Or at least it was not fit for purpose as it was. It's one of the prime reasons so many people were failing to make the switch from NXT to main roster. NXT's purpose is to prepare wrestlers for main roster living. It's not to be a brand in its own right, it's to be developmental. And in that, it had failed considerably. Also, it's worth pointing out, Many of the wrestlers in NXT didn't want to go to the main roster. And so they left instead. It was not fit for purpose. It did not work. And Dimitar also says, Dimitar also says, the term bury gets used way too much for my liking. I agree, especially by people who don't know what it means. Woody says, hey Tom, if Cody does join WWE, he has done, what sort of thing can you see him doing this time next year? Competing at the top level. I think he'll be in and around the WWE Championship this time next year. I think come WrestleMania he will be not a Royal Rumble winner, but certainly in one of the top matches for the brand. I think Cody versus AJ is likely this time next year, because I think AJ Styles might be going towards championships again shortly. Simon says, Triple H's NXT became the new Ring of Honor. They signed everybody from the Indies, PWG, Ring of Honor, CZW, for example. Well, a lot of people were signed, yes, but that's got nothing to do with what happened in NXT. They weren't used like Ring of Honor. They were used like NXT. So, not quite getting what you're going for there, Simon. Austin said, it's definitely time for EO to get called up. I completely agree. It's long overdue. Kings Andy says, Cora was 20 at the time she took on Mandy, so Vic was right. Thank you, Kings Andy, for clarifying that one. I suspected that may be the case, but I don't watch often enough to be able to say for certain. Simon says, Tom, do you see Paige possibly going to AEW in the future? Possibly, yes. She'll go wherever lets her wrestle, basically. Sergio says, what do you suggest the WWE should do with Roman and Brock on the Go Home SmackDown to make sure it isn't overwhelming? I could see maybe a brawl between them. Yeah, I would have a massive pull-apart brawl at the beginning of the show. Then I'd have a massive pull-apart brawl backstage in the middle of the show. Then for the main event segment, I'd have Roman leave Brock Lesnar in a pool of his own blood. That's what I do personally. Patrick says, I'm only person who defends Charlotte Flair and her booking when she always wins. You're not the only person. There are several people in this chat who do that. I bet she pushes and wants to stay over some talent backstage, and she has no say because Vince has the final say. Vince McMahon does have the final say. I just want to be very, very clear on that. A lot of people blame Charlotte, but Vince is the one in charge. When Hulk Hogan came out at WrestleMania 9, it was horrible, and Hulk Hogan was to blame for that, but Vince was actually to blame for it. Vince made the decision. When Aldino has his eyes on the Team Colohue concept, Kings Andy says, who are these people? No comment on that one. No comment. As regards Team Colohue, formal announcements will be coming after WrestleMania once I put the formal plan together. The day is coming, after all. Sergio, thank you kindly, says Tom Colohue over Dave Meltzer. That is esteemed company. I'm very grateful for the kind words. Larry says, my broadband provider phoned me today, asking if I wanted a bigger package for the same money. I asked if I'd need new underpants. He put the phone down. That's disappointing. That's disappointing. People should respect the package. Moxie says, when do you think AJ will win the WWE belt? Very late on this year, I believe. He'll be contending for the belt. I think once Seth wins it, it'll go from Seth to AJ and then on to Cody, personally. Ghost says, Omos versus Veer should happen. He's been coming for a very long time. He has been coming for a very long time. I believe that's called edging. And Sean says, did Charlotte want to put over Alexa at Extreme Rules but Vince told her no? I don't know. I have no idea. When it comes to championship matches, Charlotte doesn't even get the chance to say what she wants. She does as she's told. Wrestlers who are champions tend to have a lot of say in who they face when the championship is not going to change hands. If the championship is going to change hands, they have no say whatsoever. Simon says, big CM Punk news, he's away filming Heels. Will not be on AEW TV for a few weeks. Okay, fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. Gives him a little break, and I think people who are complaining that he's boring will get some time off, and people who are elsewhere on the card and not been getting the chances will get a chance to rotate in. I'll take that. I'll take that. Austin says, when can we see Raquel getting called up? I think that one will be sooner rather than later. I'd be looking at after WrestleMania for that because she's done everything she can in NXT. She's ready to step up. BFG, welcome, says, been watching the whole show, just been too busy to comment. That person's comment that's our bedroom door about the podcast was ironic considering what we've been talking about privately. A lot of people have been talking podcasts. This show I feel suits perfectly like an hour-long podcast. I would just need to essentially pull the audio, stick it on a podcast network, and I think we could do good things with that. King Xander says, what do you think of Reigns facing one of the Usos? And Roman attacks him after and leaves him bloody. That's how you would book the go-home show, tired of pull-apart brawls. I think that's a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Because I don't want to screw with the bloodline. Everyone has this thing where it's like, I want to get rid of the bloodline, I want this to happen. Also, I don't want to break up the bloodline. No, you get one or the other. One or the other. It's not about the bloodline. It's not about the Usos. It's about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. The Usos need to remain bit part players. Even Paul Heyman needs to fade at least a little bit into the background now. Simon says, Tom, the best old talent, never ever having been a world champion. Suggests Piper, Roberts. I'm sticking with Owen. I think Owen's the guy for me. Especially after that cage match. He was ready. Darnell, how you doing, mate? Says, what's going to happen with the WWE Universal titles unification? Will we see the World Heavyweight title again? No, we will not see the World Heavyweight title. Roman will carry both belts and lose both belts individually. George says, Tom, I missed yesterday's stream. Any Shane McMahon news? No Shane McMahon news at all. He is not involved with the WWE at this point in time. Little Tortilla Boy says, Cody versus AJ, nothing like a good old Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. Yep, absolutely. We'll get Finn versus Cody soon as well. Also says, Raquel is ready to be brought up. Not my favourite wrestler, but I can't deny how clean her wrestling is. She has certainly improved considerably. Sean says, if Raquel is ever let go by WWE, do you see her going to CYN, since that is where Adam Shear is? It's possible, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's guaranteed. People don't have to work together. And King Zandy says, British Bulldog, Owen Hart, Jake the Snake, Junkyard Dog should have all been champs. A number of different options there. For me, it's still Owen Hart. But for me, Owen Hart would be the one, as it were. And we are out of questions. If you have not yet done so, please do remember to hit like on the YouTube video. We are currently at 16 likes, 4 away from 20. If we can just wrap it up to that 20, I would be very, very grateful. It will guarantee more views in the future of the show. But in the meantime, I hope everyone enjoys Monday Night Raw. Next time we will be live, outside of any major news breaking, will be Friday. That being for the spoiler warning and for the SmackDown watch party. After that, we are going full throttle into WrestleMania. There will be announcements of Team Colohue. There will be announcements of the WrestleMania plans. There will be merch announcements. I'm going to be very busy over the next few days. Jermaine says, hey Tom, do you think we'll ever get AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns for a World Championship title soon? Yes, I do believe we will, and I'm very excited for it. In the meantime, thank you very much everyone for keeping me company on a cold, long Monday night. I'm very grateful to all of you for your continued support. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.